everyone and welcome back to my channel. For today's video I'm going to be making a guest design project for JunkJournalTreasure with the kids Delivery on Time and Vintage Way of Life. I decided to make some things that I could use in my own bigger project, which is going to be another lab book. So I'm going to start off by cutting this junk journal mailer into a smaller size so I can turn it into a pocket, and I also removed the bubble wrap. I'm then going to see what things I want to decorate it with on top. The 4 sheets you see now are the Vintage Way of Life and the rest is from the Delivery on Time. So I have ripped off a few pieces that I want to use, and I'm going to distress them with some vintage photo and some water. And then I'm going to dry it off with my heat gun. I've then created a notch by ripping off a half a circle, and I'm going to distress the paper pieces even more by crumbling them up. I then want to use these 3 postage stamps. These are from the kit, and I've used a, I don't know what it's called, but I've used a thing to make little holes so it looks like it's a real postage stamp that you can rip off, if that makes sense. It's like a wheel. They used it's a vintage one. I honestly don't know what it's called. I then want to do some stamping, and I don't know if you can see it, but there's like a square a border around the envelope, and this stamp fit in perfect. But the stamping went wrong, so I was sort of like, oh, not again. Stamping goes wrong with me a lot, and it really sucks because you cannot really, fix it. So then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to stamp around the entire border, and then it won't be that noticeable. And I am going to be covering it up a bit here and there, so you won't notice it that much. But yeah, my initial idea was not to do this, but oh well. I also put some vintage tape on the envelope because it started to rip there a bit, and I did some sewing. I'm then going to look through these real vintage strips and these register strips to see if there's something that I want to use. And I'm going for these 2 items. This one is a bit too big, so I decide to rip off just a bit more. And then I'm going to distress them with some vintage photo. I have decided that the picture was a bit too big, so I'm not going to use it in this particular project. But there's still some spaces left, and then I decide to do some stamping. And I'm going to use my red VersaFine Clair ink, which is the color Chianti. I then want to add a tiny bit more texture, so I'm going to add some cheesecloth. Once I'm happy, I'm going to stick it down. This stamp is going on the inside, so when you take out the journal card that I'm going to make now, you will still see something happening inside the pocket. I'm then going to take 3 of the mini journal cards that come with the kit. For me, they were a bit too small to fit in this envelope, so I thought, okay, how much fun would it be to just take 3 of them and then create a journal card with 3. So I'm going to stack them, or I'm going to stick them on some craft cardstock. But I'm first going to distress all 3 of them, and then I will glue them on the cardstock. I'm going to roughen up the edges a bit with my distress tool, but I saw that the paper was letting loose quite quickly, so I decided to use my sanding disc instead. I'm then going to add a wheel tail tab, and I'm using the craft cardstock from Tim Holtz that you can sand down. And once I've sanded down, I'm going to attach it in the middle of the journal card and put in a eyelet. I think I put in 2. I'm also going to do some stamping on the tab. I then did some sewing and I've added some blue string to make a bow. And this is the finished pocket. Oh, sorry, we're not finished yet. I'm going to add a tiny bit of decorations on the top of the journal card. So I'm looking for a blue and a red stamp. I'm also going to add a tiny bit of my vintage tape. And with that, this project is finished. Then we're going on to the second project of this video. The kit comes with these 4 belly band strips, but I thought they were very fun to use on these bingo cards, because if you look, these bingo cards have a very nice border. So I'm going to take 2 of the strips and then glue them together, but I first need to cut them to size so that they fit inside that border, because I really love that border. These bingo cards are made of the cardboard, and I want them to be a flip open in the lab book and also with pockets and such. So we're going to create pockets with the papers on top of the bingo cards, and then on the back I'm not going to do anything just yet, because I don't know how I want to attach this in my journal. So we're just going to create the pockets. I start off by using my sanding disc to roughen them up. I did that for both of them. And now I'm going to roughen up both of the bingo cards, and I'm going to use the distress tool for this. And then I'm also going to sand off the biggest particles. I'm then going to do some distressing on the bingo cards, and I also did some sewing around the paper. And now I'm going to glue it down on 3 sides, and I'm going to do that opposite on the other one. So on this one I left the right side open, and on the other one I will leave the left side open. And then I did the sewing in the middle to create 2 pockets. I'm then going to use the picture that I've distressed in the first part of the video, and I'm going to use it as a focal point. I'm then going to take some small labels from the kit, and I'm going to distress those with my nails and some vintage photo and ground espresso. And the strips with the words on them are from Vintage Way of Life. I'm then going to arrange the labels on top of the cluster to see how I want to position it. And once I'm happy, I'm going to start gluing things down a bit. I then want to add this cardboard piece. This is left over from a box. And I'm going to distress it with some ground espresso, and I'm also going to try to flatten it out a bit with my fingers. You could also run this through a die cut machine to make it flat, but this worked just fine. And I do this because I don't want it to get too bulky. I plan on using a lot of real packaging material as well in the lab book, so that's why I also used it in this project already. I'm going to use one of the registration labels again, and I'm going to distress it just a bit with some ink. I did try to use my sanding disc, but that didn't really do anything. It didn't really show up. Then want to add a bit more texture, so I decide to use some red and white fabric, and it's dry fabric, not wet. Jeez. I think it's positioned a bit too high, so I'm going to lower it down a bit. I then want to do some stamping on top of the fabric. I'm going to use very small stamps, and I'm using the ones from Kathy Holden sign here. I really like how this cluster turned out. I like the grunge. And I really like the fabric as well. I'm then going to use my stapler. I'm then going to add one more round stamp on top of everything. And now we're going to work on the other pockets. And I want to use this paper people. I don't know how they are called, to be honest. But I have never used one, I think. Maybe once. I'm not sure. But this fella, I thought he would fit the theme. So I'm going to use him, and I'm also going to use a piece of a vintage airmail envelope, and I'm also going to use the cardboard again, the rippled cardboard, and I'm going to distress it the same way I did the other time with some ground espresso. I do want to do some sanding around the paper doll. That's the word, paper doll. Yeah, so I want to do some sanding around. I want to roughen it up a bit more. And then I'm going to use some vintage photo to make it more sepia-ish. Because I'm not going to do it on top of the whole thing, just on the borders. I then want to do some stamping on the sides. And I'm going to add some vintage ledger. I do think it's a bit too big, so I decide to rip a part off, and then I'm going to stick it down. I then want to do some more stamping. We're nearing the end of the video now, and I want to thank you all for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and leave a comment. You can also turn on the notification bell so you will be notified whenever I upload new content. I'm going to continue prepping for the lab book, but as you know, these take a lot of time, so it also takes a lot of prepping. Anyway, if you loved the kits, you can visit JunkJournalTreasure's Etsy shop. It will be listed down below. And without further ado, enjoy the rest of the video. Have a nice day wherever you are, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!